He is your friendly neighbour that watches you from afar. He gives you his border flowers when you admire them. He's skilled at building intricate doll houses. And he's meticulously trapped you underground in his bunker.
I don't want you to leave.
So what happens next? Welcome to Sebastian Please, a channel that deeply indulges into the characters of movies, looking at the psychological explanation attached to specific characters. In each video, I promise not to spoil the ending, but rather persuade you, if you've never watched the movie, to please do watch it, because every movie is artistically beautiful in its own way. In this video, I will be focusing on the character of George Harvey in The Lovely Bones. The Lovely Bones is a 2009 supernatural drama film which is directed by Peter Jackson, and it's based on the book which was written in 2002 by Alice Sebold. The film centers on a young girl, Susie Salmon, who has been murdered, speaking from heaven, which she describes as an in-between, trying to heal her family by watching over them while seeking revenge on her killer.
These were the lovely bones that had grown around my absence.
George Harvey seems like a quiet neighbour who blends in the suburban life. He is organised and keeps his personal space tidy. He shows attention to detail by building dollhouses and looks after his flowers. This is exactly what makes him the perfect serial killer, disguised as a charming man seeking for his next victim.
Salmon girl, right?
Evil is unspectacular and always human, and shares our bed and eats at our own table. W.H. Auden. George Harvey is deeply observant, not only before planning his attacks, but also after to cover his tracks. There's a scene where George Harvey is observing Susie Salmon at the mall when she's shopping with her grandmother.
A man in my neighborhood was watching me.
He also watches her before she goes to school to understand her daily routine so that he's able to establish the right time to attack her. He watches over Susie, whom he obsesses about. When Susie's mum and dad are admiring his flowers, Susie's riding a bike whilst taking photos. He's observing Susie. He uses the opportunity to talk to her parents and give Susie's mum some flowers. It seems harmless, just a friendly neighbour cutting roses to give his neighbour some flowers, but it's all part of a deceptive mask to watch over his prey.
Villainy wears many masks.
There's a scene in the movie where Detective Len Fenderman visits his house to ask about Susie's disappearance. The visit surprises him, as it makes him quickly hide his evidence. But he is completely calm and cooperative with the detective, but not too involved. He knows just how to communicate, speaking in a soft tone, as if scripted or rehearsed. He pretends to show sympathy, even though he does not feel any remorse. He says to the detective, "I know why you're here. I think when something like this happens, you always blame yourself. All I can think about is, why didn't I see something? Or why didn't I hear something? Because surely the young girl must have screamed." He knows exactly how to manage the balance between being cooperative but not being too involved to raise suspicion. Remember, he's trying to blend in so he can keep killing and hide behind his mask. If you were George Harvey and were questioned by the detective, would you be able to keep calm? An example of a serial killer who got too involved was Gennady Mestovich, who was a notorious Soviet serial killer and rapist who had murdered at least 36 women. He was actively participating in the volunteer search parties that he was finally caught after leaving a threatening note. It enabled handwriting analysis and mass sample collection to match him. George Harvey is filled with intense paranoia when he sees Lindsay Salmon, the sister of Susie Salmon, staring intently at his house during her running. He had felt so confident that he had meticulously covered his tracks, and now felt discomfort, feeling immensely crowded, being watched by the Salmon family. In the scene where Lindsay is walking the dog starts barking persistently towards George Harvey, who is sitting in his car, parked in front of his house. It is the car which was used to transport heavy safe containing Susie Salmon's remains. He intensely looks from his rearview mirror and starts thinking of his next move. It is at this moment that he puts his deceptive mask on and, stepping out of the car in a calm manner, tries to form a conversation with Lindsay.
You're a salmon girl, right?
He then watches her from his house, being observant about her routine when walking her dog. George Harvey kept trophies of his victims. In the movie, when Detective Len Fenderman visits George Harvey's house to ask about Susie's disappearance, the detective asks him whether if he could think back as she was wearing a yellow coat or a blue jacket or some similar clothes to these. He shows him a collage containing photos of her clothes when she was murdered. He sees the photo of her wearing her bracelet and suddenly starts to panic inwardly. knowing that he has kept it near his dollhouse. George Harvey also keeps a lock of Susie Salmon's hair as a trophy. We can see this in the movie where it is stuck in his notebook hidden under a loose floorboard. The trophies symbolize power and control as they act as a physical symbol of dominance over the victim. It allows him to experience and reenact his fantasies. It acts as a memory preservation. Serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, Joel Rifkin, and Ted Bundy kept trophies of their victims. It allowed them to experience a psychological compulsion or fantasy cycle that drives the desire to reoffend, a hunger to hunt. George Harvey experienced a cooling off period and a gradual build-up of stress or frustration that triggers the need to hunt again.
Began to feel a familiar itch.
George Harvey has extreme need for control. It is what enables him to commit his meticulous plans. His need for control is what drives his murders and allows him to not get caught. He spends his time building detailed custom dollhouses. But what is the meaning behind his behavior? It is not just a hobby that serves as mask of innocence, hiding his true identity, but it is his way of securing total control over environments. We know that he is quite lonely, and therefore the dollhouse allows him to distance himself from society and immerse into a fantasy of being able to dominate what goes on in the dollhouse. The precision behind creating each piece of furniture of the dollhouse projects his behavior of having full control over his impulses and allows him to practice his attention to detail. He is a perfectionist. Building the dollhouse allows him to practice self-control and exercise patience when completing parts of the dollhouse.
And the need would rise in him again.
When he builds each detail of the house, the wall, the roof, and pieces of furniture, it's his ability to have complete control which he enjoys. In a sense, they are objects that are obeying his command. He exerts this form of control when he lures Susie Salmon into his underground trap. When she enters his underground trap, he tells her to make herself at home, tells her to have a seat. He tells her it's nice with candles and everything, right? Huh? Making her agree to his question. He even touches her hat and says that it's very cute. When she feels creeped by his behavior and tries to leave, he says no, points at her, and he tells her to be polite. You have to be polite. Be polite. That's another rule.
No, be polite. Be polite. You have to be polite. That's another rule.
When she responds saying that she has to leave, he tells her that he doesn't want her to leave. He even asks her whether she has a boyfriend. When she responds no, he becomes quite pleased, feels that she belongs to him. He is dominating, having full control of the situation. His way of communicating is commanding towards Susie, making her obey every aspect of the trap, just like he enjoys building each detail of his dollhouse. Thank you so much for watching the video. And if you haven't watched the movie, please do watch it and share your analysis on the symbolic meanings behind his character.